Good morning, Blessing. Thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. I think first, let's unpack the Natural Products Association of Botswana. What exactly is it and why was it formed to start with?
Okay. It was formed in 2018, specifically saying that Botswana is quite known for its indigenous fruits, either Murula, Moana, Moringa, Mongongo, because they generally fall naturally. And by that time, it was to safeguard and to also guide companies that are growing within this industry to say that you're not alone, but most importantly, how about we gather ourselves to also help government to be able to understand the needs that we have as industry players.
Right.
Yes.
And what challenges do companies in the natural products sector really face?
Oh my word. So, and just to break down the NPAB, as we usually call it in short,
Sure.
we have multiple sectors in it. There's the cosmetic sector, which I lead.
Yeah.
There's the food sector as well. And then there is also the pharma sector. Now, all of these people come together and play and say that since we're using these indigenous knowledge, how exactly can we come to facilitate, one, the growth of locally homegrown businesses, but most importantly, to ensure that the communities where these plants grow also get to benefit.
Right.
Now, get into the cosmetic sector, I will tell you multiple things. For example, we as Botswana lack the standardization of cosmetic products. And most importantly, we also lack the standardization of Murula or Moana or Moringa. And now, when that gets to play, when you now get to play within this industry, particularly where South Africa calls it Marula, and you call it Murula in Botswana, it gets to be looked down upon to say, but then why don't we call it Marula instead of Murula? Some of the players within the association go through phases of, in Botswana, the packaging is Murula, and when they get to export, it's now Marula. So if at all there was that standardization, and this is what we're working with the Botswana Bureau of Standards, to say that can we come and standardize other natural indigenous plants that grow within Botswana that would be a standard for us as Botswana to take over to the world. So yes.
Right. Those are the challenges that they face.
That is the one.
essence.
In essence. And the second one then comes to be funding and financing,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Which is, we can never grow too short of money as well. But then this is where now the BDIH grant will come to play and then will come to help us here and there. But the other thing again is, you and I know but we had never really seen it in packaged in a jam or in fruit.
Right.
So there's that gap whereby as much as Botswana are excited to see those things, it's quite hard actually somebody understanding that it's good for my body and also good for my skin.
Yeah.
It's a paradox.
Right.
Yeah.
So talking about that, what is that about though, and how can we, fix that situation, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm looking at Moringa, for example, as actually, one of the products that we grow here at home, and we're seeing, being packaged internationally. We, like you're saying, we grew up eating Murula or Moana Jalo, and we don't see it packaged here. Pane recently got packaged,
Right.
and we're still, shocked at the packaging that has happened. Why is it that we are slow to gravitate towards, local products in that regard, and especially natural products in this essence?
One, I think the commonness of seeing something, we just get to dilute its value and not understanding actually the nutritional pact that it has.
Yeah.
Internationally, these are seen as superfoods that are great for your body or great for your system.
Yeah.
The second thing that gets to follow it is just not the understanding how these things actually can support our everyday life as well. So thirdly, just the lack of industrialization in Botswana as a pact, I think that is the problem.
Right.
Yes.
I got you.
Thank
All
you.
right. Now we hear that there's a 12 million Buddha grant that BDIH has actually put out for small and medium enterprises in the indigenous natural products industry.
Yes.
How exactly do you think that the association can actually help in this regard, from the challenges that you spoke about, to the development that still needs to the entrepreneurs need to go through? How do you think that this grant could actually help in this essence?
Okay, so first thing first, I would say what's quite important is dialogue. The importance of dialogue between two parties that are within this industry. One being the BDIH and the NPAB, to basically come to understand what actually is the gap on ground that needs to be covered. This is the first thing. The second thing, also part of the dialogue, is the timeline.
Sure.
So we have had multiple businesses that are part of the association who then got to accept these grants or were quite shortlisted for these grants. It's quite something ready to need the funds in January and for them to be dispersed in December. What happens really within that gap of time? So that's the other thing. And then the third thing, again, that's quite important is perhaps allowing the businesses themselves to come and show you what exactly we need these grants for, instead of coming up with the guidelines of what you think these grants would work out for them. I think honestly that is a gap, but I should also get to applaud them for thinking of there is this sector that is growing within Botswana, and let us also award 12 million to it and see how businesses would come to get to do it. It's not every day you would see a sector that is growing being given such a grant of funds or money.
Right. So if you were to single out a few organizations or products really that we see and interact with on a daily basis, especially that you head in the cosmetic space, what exactly can we look to say maybe, okay, this falls under that, and we can get a better appreciation of what we're talking about in terms of this sector growing, especially the cosmetic side of things?
Okay. So to take that question, let me just take it also a step backwards.
Okay.
We just the devil's claw.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm sure you've seen the devil's claw in a few retailers locally.
Yeah.
But the biggest absorber of the devil's claw is exporters, particularly Europe and Germany, right? And there's a company that is very doing well that is also part of the association that is getting to do that, of which the communities where they gather this also get to benefit, right? So now, taking that step forward, getting to look at within now the cosmetic sector, what we then have here is we then do have your companies like Organic Naturals or your Nubian Seeds or your Pasima Innovations that work with all of these plants and these innovative indigenous plants to come and value add them, or your Shidolls. I think what then we should be more able to look at into within these companies, or as they get to play or as they get to use these indigenous plants, is to look at, one, the communities where they get to gather these. Are they quite impacted, or do they quite benefit? Right. Two, the benefit that these also companies get to play within the economy. How many people have they employed? What exactly are they getting to export out? And so forth and so on. Then when you look at the food industry, we have companies like Mango Craft that now sells within Amazon because they just get to package these gems as well. So what I think we should look at as Botswana is companies, we should very much gravitate towards companies that get to use these indigenous plants, get to ask these questions, and also get to see, do the communities where these things are harvested get to benefit as much? Because this is why also the Natural Product Association was formed. Right. We had companies come here, I'm sure you know the Singaparile issue, whereby they'll just come and take out of Botswana, and now we're saying, how about we come and see that Botswana also get to benefit within this value chain?
Right. And talking about that, there's now the element of innovation, especially in this sector, and seeing that this grant is actually issued out by BDIH, which is an innovation think tank in Botswana, right? How do you think that this grant could actually enhance innovation in in different enterprises that are in the natural product spaces?
Honestly speaking, I believe that it will be such a catalyzer. Particularly a catalyzer to growth, and a catalyzer of also growing the manufacturing sector within Botswana. That was the first thing. But the barrier would be, it's quite one thing to have products out there without the market absorbing them. The market now not being you as rightly the end buyer, but being the retailers that will actually give these products a shelf space. So once we can be able to BDIH, BITC, and all these other players get to be able to close that gap, then this value chain will actually get to make sense. And this investment of 12 million Pula will be able to earn rewards, because then the manufacturer will say, here's the product, the retailer will absorb it, and then the retailer won't have to always run to Square Mart because she wants something that's PJBW. She can get to all these other stores, right? So that is the one thing that also I think BDIH should not just end at, oh, hey guys, here's 12 million Pula, but to say, okay, other parties, how can we make sure that there is actually a return in investment from this? So I'll go on and on, but I'll stop there.
Absolutely, totally hear you, and I'm following you there. And I want to now bring you to the question of, there is the natural products, and then there's the natural knowledge, the indigenous knowledge as we know it. And I want to find out what role, this indigenous knowledge plays in the development and innovation of natural products, and how, in essence, it can be effectively integrated, to modern business as we know it, and especially modern business practices, because you're still going back to saying we're still behind, if you will, in terms of our practices.
Exactly.
So how do these things, come together?
Actually, I love that question, because they're not mutually exclusive. They honestly get to mesh together. For you to come to use A, you also have to get to use B, right? So for you to get to use this natural product, you also have to use the indigenous knowledge that has to be packed to it. There's what we call competitive advantage. And I honestly believe that if we're to quite harness within this indigenous knowledge and use it as the competitive advantage, whether we get to play within the Botswana industry or get to export out, this is what will make actually businesses get to stand out. Because you're standing on ground of knowledge that some South African who grows marula or baobab does not have, because it's quite indigenous to your background or where you get to come from. Secondly, I believe that that indigenous knowledge then now has to be intellectual property, which is what our president, Dr. Masisi, often talks about, that it's quite important that this indigenous knowledge now becomes your IP as a company. And to also give kudos to SIPA and BDIH, what they're currently doing is they're currently imparting these indigenous businesses to say that, I see that you're using this indigenous plant. Can you please get to protect it so that when you get to export out, we don't have the devil's claw situation again?
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right.
Yeah.
I know when we began, when we were still dissecting the 12 million Pula grant, you said that you wish that, instead of, these recommendations being done by BDIH to say, these are the guidelines for what we'd like to fund, they should then allow these entrepreneurs to come on and say, this is what I would need the grant for, right? Now, I'd like to find what your recommendations are, for recipients, especially those that will be getting this BDIH grant to maximize impact, especially on their businesses. What would you say, or how would you say they should position themselves to ensure that, they capitalize on this opportunity?
Thank you very much. The first thing, honestly, I would say would be systems, in the sense of very much often we look down the systems that get to hold and support the businesses that we get to play with. Out of systems, I would say as fast as you can, at your earliest convenience, get to export out. In the sense that while we're also such a very exciting economy as Botswana, our population necessarily does not allow or harness the growth of that particular company. But also just get to diversify this export basket at the same time. And lastly, make sure that your footprint is as big as you may want it to be. In as much as some other stores or retailers will get to say no to you, knock as much as you can and push that door as much as you can. And lastly, measure if this return on investment will come back. And what do I mean by saying that? That's certain investments or product lines that I'll say, okay, no, this is not worth it, or this is quite worth it. So very much consider that too, particularly as well. And I cannot stop singing this song. Ensure that the communities that you're getting these indigenous plants from also get to benefit from it. You might not see it as something that's quite worth it. It sells the story. Part of it selling the story is you also make sure that there's that full circular economy that happens at grassroots level as well as at macro level.
Right. And, I've also been pondering around, maybe starting a business in this space because I'm such a big herb person. Everything that I do is herb, right? And I was wondering, the market is not very conducive, like you say. It's not. We're not very excited to consume our own, products in this regard. And it got me to, because you were saying that, look, try to expand your footprint as far as you can. Go export if you can, right? And I'm wondering, what is the appetite like in that space? Are people excited outside to actually consume our products here? And what products? Because I'm in the tea side of things. And I'm wondering, if I bring tea from Botswana to, other parts of the world, would they be excited to have a tea from outside versus the tea that they're accustomed to in their different countries?
I love that question. And I love it because I'm just going to share with you something here. Botswana's, and with a context, Botswana's murula is way richer than South Africa or Namibia's murula.
And why is that?
Murula on its own. Because of the geographic location of Botswana, because of the semi-aridness, and because of the heat. All to say that the world is waiting on superfoods and nutritional values that are not in comparison, or rather outplay all these other plants that grow in other parts of Africa, I would say. So I would say yes, the appetite is quite, I've seen it ourselves as being exporting as well. The countries are waiting. It's really up to us to come and really try it out and see.
That's incredible. And for somebody who's listening as we close our conversation, Didi, and they would like to get in touch with the NBP, where are you? How do they interact with you, and how do they become members?
Okay, thank you very much. So you can always just drop us an email or just drop us a call or a text at the Natural Product Association Botswana. We're honestly welcoming members in, whether you're a farmer, within the food industry, within the cosmetic industry, or any other industry that you could be in. So long as you use natural products, we really would want you in there for you to also help us build regulations that will get to shape the future of your businesses as well.
Absolutely. In conversation this morning with Didintle Moreki, who is the head of the Cosmetic Committee under the Natural Product Association of Botswana, we're here trying to understand the 12 billion Pula grant that has been issued out by the Botswana Digital and Innovation Hub in efforts to actually grow this natural product sector. And I'm sure that you have picked a thing or two from their conversation. Didi, thank you so much for joining me this morning.
Me.
Absolutely. Yes. And this is what we leave it for now. We're coming to now the news at the top of the hour. Stay with us.
Exploring the benefits of the 3 separated interchanges on the roads of Gaborone, their impact and change of life in the capital city, the Botswana Integrated Transport Project, Didintle, this Thursday on BTV News.
Risk in terms of cybersecurity issues has been going up, not to journalists or media practitioners in particular, but generally the world over, and Botswana has not been spared as well. We are seeing different issues that are cyber-related incidents that we need to be aware of, and to try and make sure that we up our security to ensure that we are protected online, whether at individual level or at organizational level.